is here, like I said, because this is where Roosevelt learned that he was president, and so we kind of focus on the events that lead to that rather than everything about Theodore Roosevelt. So I'll just start in and we'll let you know what happened. It is a very interesting, complex, and also a very tragic story that is normally, unfortunately, not taught in high schools or colleges, at least very much, and we think it should be. So we're going to start in Buffalo, New York. We're going to start at Lake Champlain over in Vermont, and we're going to start Mount Marcy, highest peak in New York State, about 35 miles north of here. In 1901, September of 1901, in Buffalo, the United States sponsored the Pan American Exposition, a huge World's Fair-like activity with basically showcasing the culture of the Americas. And President McKinley and his Vice President, Theodore Roosevelt, came up for it. When they got into New York, McKinley continued on to Buffalo, where he wanted to represent the United States. And he was a backslapping kind of politician. He liked to go out and shake people's hands and talk to them and so forth, and that's what he was doing at the Pan American Exposition. Theodore Roosevelt went over to a fish and game club in Lake Champlain area in Vermont, and he was giving speeches there. Meanwhile, he sent his wife and his family, son and nephew, up to the Tahawus Club up north of here by Mount Marcy. It's an outdoor club at that time, and that's where Roosevelt was going to go after he was finished giving political speeches. He wanted to climb Mount Marcy with his wife and his family. So he sent them up. They stayed at a cabin up there while Roosevelt was finished in Vermont. Unfortunately, as President McKinley was out shaking hands with people, this one fellow, an anarchist named Leon Czolgosz, walked up to McKinley to shake his hand. He had his hand bandaged, but there was nothing wrong with it except that it concealed a pistol. And he shot McKinley twice. First bullet sort of grazed him, but the second one penetrated his abdomen. And McKinley was, of course, incapacitated from that time on. The local doctor was called and operated on McKinley. McKinley survived the first assassination attempt. Roosevelt was telegrammed over, he was still over in Vermont at his fish and game club, and instructed to come to Buffalo as quickly as possible. So he did. Roosevelt got over to Buffalo, where he spoke to McKinley's surgeon, and the surgeon told him that the president would make a recovery. And Roosevelt sort of didn't know what to think, but the surgeon told him to just go ahead with his vacation plans to Mount Marcy. And McKinley's cabinet told Roosevelt to go ahead with his vacation plans to climb Mount Marcy, because they did not want to inflame the public. There was a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment going on at that time in American history, and they just didn't want gangs of people murdered in the street. They certainly didn't want to start any kind of a war going on. And so they wanted to play everything very carefully, very, very low, and not sensationalize anything. So Roosevelt continued with his vacation plans. He went up to Mount Marcy, or up to the Tahawus Club, rather, where he met his family, and proceeded to get some guides together from the club and climb Mount Marcy. From the clubhouse to the mountain it was a 10-mile hike. So they're hiking through the woods, and they're fishing and they're hunting as they're going along too. The party climbed Mount Marcy. We know that Roosevelt got to the top because we have his diaries. And they were starting to come, they were coming down from the mountain later in the afternoon when they stopped at Lake Terre-de-Clouds. Now, who can tell me the significance of Lake Terre-de-Clouds?
It's where the Hudson River starts.
Source of the Hudson River, right. It's in that Mount Marcy area. It's just a very, very small lake. But they had stopped to take a break when the search party found them, handed Roosevelt a telegram coming from the cabinet in Buffalo saying that McKinley was not recovering and he'd better get to Buffalo right now. And that upended his whole world, because the doctor had told him that McKinley would recover. Everybody believed the doctor. They had no reason not to believe him because he was the doctor. Well, Roosevelt is in one of the most isolated parts of the United States, having lunch. There's no way to get to Buffalo immediately. He's only got his own 2 legs for transportation. There wasn't any horses in the area at all. So they hiked back to the Tahawus Club, and by now it's nighttime, where Roosevelt got another telegram confirming that McKinley was not going to survive the night and get to Buffalo quickly. So a series of 3 coaches was called for him, or wagons rather, farm wagons. And if I can go over here and you can all have a look at this little map right here. It kind of details his travels from Lake Terre-de-Clouds here to the North Creek train station. He got on the first wagon pulled by a draft horse. It's nighttime. It's raining, and he's coming down what is now Route 28N. That was his route, but back at that time, that was just a small dirt logging road going through the woods. It's muddy, almost impassable, and he's going on this wagon pulled by a draft horse, and he's going very slowly. Got off the first wagon at this point, and got onto a second wagon, again pulled by a draft horse, and eventually got down here to Aidenlair Lodge. That's a lodge, the ruin of which is still there today. You can see it if you go up Route 28N, which starts right here in North Creek. At Aidenlair Lodge, he met this fellow, a fellow named Mike Cronin, who owned this lodge. And he had a surrey, not a farm wagon, but a surrey, which is a much lighter type of vehicle. And furthermore, it's pulled by 2 Morgan horses. And these are not farm draft horses at all. Does anybody know anything about the Morgan breed?
I think they're an American breed.
They're an American breed, actually a Vermont breed. They're still in use today as harness racers. They're a great racehorse. They're pretty big, really good with people, very sturdy, very strong, and fast. They're not, you won't see them, at Saratoga during the summer with the jockeys riding them. They're not that kind of a thoroughbred, but they're still used today in harness racing. And I guess they're used as breeders for other types of horses that are in great demand for harness racing. Frank and Dick. Frank and Roosevelt and Cronin got into that surrey 16 miles north of here, and they drove Frank and Dick like you wouldn't believe. I mean, Roosevelt is yelling faster, faster, and Cronin was driving them faster, faster. They rode those horses at a full gallop for 16 miles. And Roosevelt and Cronin, too, were very lucky that they survived the trip because of the weather. They couldn't see anything. Roosevelt apparently had a small lantern that he held to give him some light, but it threw out about as much light that they could use to see the horses' tails, and that was it. But the horses knew the way, because Cronin used that surrey to take people from the train depot here up to his lodge at Aden Lair. So they knew where they were going, thank goodness. They got here to the train depot just at dawn, and this is September 14th, 1901, when Roosevelt got out of the surrey and was met immediately by his private secretary, a man named Loeb, who handed him still another telegram, and this was the one that confirmed that McKinley had passed away during the night, and Roosevelt was now President of the United States. We think that McKinley passed away about 2:15 in the morning, and that would have been when Roosevelt and his wagon were right around the town of Newcomb. And every year, the town of Newcomb, again north of here a ways, they claim to be the town where Theodore Roosevelt became President of the United States. And that's probably true. But Roosevelt didn't know about it until he got the telegram, official telegram, right here at the North Creek train depot. So he got on a train which was waiting for him, took him to Albany and then across the state to Buffalo. And he got off the train in Buffalo. He's still in his muddy hiking clothes. Poor fellow hadn't had a decent night's sleep, hadn't had a decent meal, and had to borrow a set of nice clothes from a friend of his in order to take the oath of office, because he wasn't about to take the oath of office in muddy hiking clothes. And he did, and that's how Theodore Roosevelt became our President of the United States in September of 1901. Quite a story.
Yeah.
Could I add something? Could I add something to that?
Sure.
Mike Cronin knew the route down here very well because he picked up people to go back to his hotel.
Yeah,
And the horses were excellent.
and the horses knew the
That's right. And Mike Cronin got a phone call that McKinley had died before Roosevelt got to see the hotel. So McKinley, all the way down, Mike Cronin knew that he was now president, and he didn't think it was his job to tell Roosevelt.
He didn't tell
He never
him.
told Roosevelt.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was it, and for years.
Roosevelt must have certainly suspected it, because he had had a couple of telegrams before that telling him that McKinley was failing. So he must have known that McKinley wasn't going to survive. But
One more thing about the weather, it was raining a little bit on a dirt road. And they tried to do races from the hotel down to North Creek for years afterwards to see if they could beat Mike Cronin's time. And they never did.
Never
But
did.
Mike Cronin defended himself and said, I never went faster than what was safe. So I thought you might like to know that.
How did the horses do? Did they, I mean, a gallop for 16 miles is a strenuous thing. Were they okay?
they certainly were worn out. I'm really not sure. But they got
There's
it.
no evidence that they dropped dead at the end of the.
No, I
No,
don't.
okay, good.
I've never read that, but I'd have to do some further research to find out
Well,
what.
that's kinda taxing
what
on
Dick
them.
happened.
and Frank made it beyond, beyond this episode. That's how we would know, so I don't know how we would figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think anybody's still alive.
We know
More
that
research.
for a long time afterward, Mike Cronin made a bit of pocket change by up at his lodge by selling people horseshoes from Frank and Dick.
Good for, yeah.
That's all right.
Okay,
The Surrey that they rode in is at the Blue Mountain Museum.
Yeah, it's at the Experience.
The Surrey.
Blue Mountain.
I read the book
there.
three times.
I'm sorry, but I didn't know it was that long.
And that was on a trip, it was like.
Well, when you think about it too, a farm wagon that's used to pulling freight
Mike Cronin's
and
granddaughter.
using a draft horse to do that is a very heavy, a lumbering kind of thing. And the difference between that and a Surrey is really remarkable. So, they weren't able to push the farm wagon horses. They did the best they could. But when Roosevelt got into the Surrey, pulled by the two Morgans, Roosevelt would have been familiar with horses. He knew they were a much faster breed, and they just pushed them as much as they could.
When did his family end up following him?
No, that's a good question.
Is there an
His
answer?
wife and his family, yeah, they stayed at the Tahaz, they were at the Tahaz Club while all this was going on. And I understand that Roosevelt, when he got to Albany, just outside of Albany, had the train stop, and he telegrammed his wife up at the Tahaz Club and told her that he was on his way to Buffalo, and she stayed there for a few days, and not because there wasn't any way to get her here, there was. She made arrangements with the farm wagons to get her back down here. But she did not want to go to Buffalo because she didn't want to interfere with Mrs. McKinley's grieving. She knew that Mrs. McKinley would have been grieving, and she just did not want to interfere at all. That
Take any spot
in
on
her
it.
way of thinking, that would have been just the wrong thing to do, bad social form.
Yep.
So she stayed there and eventually took a wagon, got back here to the train depot, and went over to Buffalo and met her husband there. So that's the story of how Theodore Roosevelt came into his first administration. And that's how we got the Panama Canal, the 5 national parks, and dozens of bird sanctuaries, national forests, the first Food and Drug Act, which was called at that time the Pure Food and Drug Act, I guess. Now it's called the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. But the Pure Food and Drug Act was signed by Theodore Roosevelt because he realized that the food and drug situation in the United States was not controlled, especially the situation with medicine, medication. You could buy this stuff on the street that claimed to cure all illnesses, and it was just a mixture of turpentine and cocaine and maybe some wine and some whiskey, and that was it. So that's why the Pure Food and Drug Act came into existence, because people were more dying from the medication than they were from the diseases.
Well, one more thing.
Like
Teddy
natural.
Roosevelt received the Congressional Medal of Honor, and so did his son, Teddy Roosevelt Jr. And another father's son received the Medal of Honor, which was Douglas MacArthur, and his father, Arthur MacArthur.
Both father and son
Two of them. And those two.
Roosevelt really deserves his place on Mount Rushmore, at least in my view, for everything that he did for the country. And he was trying to control the government and pass laws and legislations, had ideas 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'd probably today call him hyperactive.
ADHD.
And another couple of interesting things regarding medications. I'm getting off track a little bit here, but I learned that McKinley lingered for about a week before he passed away. And he passed away not so much from the bullet, but from the infection that got worse and worse and worse and worse. Because in 1901, they didn't have any way to control the infection. Penicillin wasn't discovered until 1928. And that's 27 years after McKinley was shot, and that's a full generation of human beings. I guess from what I learned, that a generation of people is about every 25 years. And so they had no way to control the infection. One of the people who came in here one time told me that there was one doctor in Buffalo who might have saved McKinley's life. We don't know because it didn't happen, but might have. And that was a fellow named Dr. Roswell Park. And if you know Buffalo, Roswell Park is host today to a world-renowned cancer center, the Roswell Park Cancer Center. And Dr. Park had a reputation for always requiring his medical instruments and the room, the beds, everything to be clean. He instinctively felt that there was a connection between infection and cleanliness. And so all of the instruments, the bed sheets, everything had to be scrubbed, and it had to be kept in an immaculate, had to be kept immaculately clean. Whereas none of the other doctors, at least in Buffalo, and most of them throughout the United States, cared about cleanliness. They had no idea about the relationship between infection and cleanliness.
I have a quick question. Does anybody know what this is?
Something I'd never been on.
Anybody know what this is? This is called a skipjack.
A what?
Skipjack. And people would walk up the hill, sit this down, sit on it. I'm not going because I'd weigh too much. Stick their feet out and go down the hill balancing. My dad used to do had one of these when I was little.
Wow.
And so into the next room is does anybody know the first ski area in New York State?
No.
Turn around and look at that hill right there. Gore Mountain. First ski area in New York State.
Gore Mountain.
1934.
I was like Gore
Yes.
Mountain, and I was like, no.
And that's into the next room.
Yeah.
Those are my grandsons.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would love that as a kid, but no, that.
I know. The real Memorial Day. Oh, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
God bless you. Okay, now I always figured, why do you have so early? It's not right.
Lots of history. Unless there's a crib. Last time I was up here, it wasn't open, the museum. I was with my goddaughter. I brought her up
I'm
here.
gonna move this out of the way.
Oh, you're fine.
That book right you're looking at, right there,
This one
Yes.
you
Excellent.
purchased.
you should get that.
Okay.
Because it was out of print, and I just discovered it in here on Monday when I was here.
Did you know the daughter? Did you know?
No, but she wrote it, the granddaughter.
Yes.
The granddaughter wrote it?
What?
The granddaughter
Wrote this, yes.
Oh,
The
okay.
granddaughter of Mike Cronin wrote it, yes. It's excellent,
Okay.
and there's details in it.
I'm gonna look around
Oh,
some
yeah,
more.
absolutely. Actually, we probably should get the skipjack out of here.
Okay, I'm missing some history over here. Let's see.
And they had to,
wow. Oh,
They
wow.
provided an excellent source of income for local people, because local people sent the kids down into the basement or outside during the winter in order to rent their rooms out to people coming up on the snow train.
So where did this railway connect? At Saratoga or?
Saratoga, yeah,
Right, and so this was a spur from Saratoga?
yeah,
The
coming up to Albany, Saratoga. It was constructed by Thomas Durant, back in the mid-1800s. And he only got up here and maybe a little ways north of here before he had financial problems, and he never went any farther north. But Durant wanted to bring the railroad all the way up into northern New York and then west to the
Dennis, I hate
St.
to
Lawrence River
interrupt. Dennis.
for mining and lumbering.
Dennis, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt. They need to be outside for the bus at 2:30.
Right.
This
Okay.
group, okay?
We have 20 minutes, 22 minutes.
Just this group here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll let you walk around and
Welcome, Depot Museum.
Pretty cool.
there's some interesting information about the
Yeah.
United States 10th Mountain Division in World War II here. There were several people from this area who were members of that division.
There's a
So,
reason.
is this still working really?
These hamlets are representing.
When did that stop?
Periods of time.
Pardon me?
Uh-huh.
It's 1945, after World War II.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Oh, wow.
Come around, this wonderful
This is really
background
good.
was donated to the museum. And you're coming into North Creek.
New
A different season of
York.
the year in 1935. When more people get in here, we'll have the train move,
Oh,
if we're
wow.
lucky. And then we go around the bend, and we have springtime.
From autumn to winter, okay.
And-
Alrighty, let's get out of winter.
Another winter, and you change years to 1935.
Ah.
And then you come around to Riparius, which they wanted to name River something, Rivertown or
This is
something.
awesome.
But they couldn't do that because the post office, U.S. Post Office, already had that name, so that was Riparius. And that is in the summertime, and you'll notice the date is 1922. So it's 3 different economies
Wow.
that this area has gone through. Now, we have more folks here, so what I'm gonna do is go and turn on the train, how's
Oh,
that?
cool. I love
These are the
trains.
people that worked on it, some of the people that worked on it,
Mm-hmm.
and they were professionals.
Can I look in here?
Can we go in here?
Oh, certainly. you
Oh,
can.
okay. I
Please do.
wasn't sure.
That's the original baggage room.
The baggage room? Oh, you
Well, are you gonna go?
Oh, okay. Oh, this was the baggage room. Oh, okay. Wow. Ooh, I love the vintage bags. Oh, wow. Look at this. So this was breakfast. Please do not touch. Lucky Strikes. Lots of history. Hello, conductor. Oh, is the train moving? I wanted to see the train.
These houses and that church are no longer there. Church has been moved across the river. And these houses show you a little diversity that this region had in 1922. Also, in Riparius, we have a few domestic animals. We have some dogs, we have some chickens, we have people doing housekeeping, washing windows, which by the way I need to do. There's a lot here, and I'll stop talking so you can go around and read what you have. Oh, one more thing. That
I'm sorry. No, don't be sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how to get out.
was the woman from Canada,
How can I get out?
that was when she was a girl.
But I have to go through all